Hey guys, and welcome to another Q&A Monday video. In this video I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can in as much detail as possible. I get so many questions every day, I can't really put them all in one video, so if I don't get to your question in this video, don't worry, I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer it as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Standard asks, with a couple of popular YouTubers, for example Joe Weller, making these haunted abandoned building excursions, it has encouraged a few younger people to start making them, and often they are inexperienced with the paranormal. I'd quite like to hear your opinion on the matter, as I find it pretty dangerous. No, I agree, it's very dangerous. I really wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty much urban exploration, but with the paranormal aspect and all the risks that follow that. Now, urban exploration itself is pretty dangerous. You know, you're entering an abandoned building. Sometimes these places are pretty derelict. They're not in use for a reason, and so it can be dangerous just on a physical level. You know what I mean? These places aren't exactly structurally sound all the time, so accidents can happen. Things could break, and you could be on the receiving end of any injuries that follow it. And then once you introduce that to somewhere that's haunted, you've got all the paranormal risks as well, you know what I mean, attachments. You're meddling in things you're not experienced with. For me, one, get permission to enter anywhere. If you're going to play around with the paranormal, at least get permission. That's the least you can do, because somebody owns that property and it's worth trying. If they say no, there's probably a good reason for it. And secondly, if you are inexperienced with the paranormal, start out with somebody that knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? Learn the ropes before going out and exploring yourself. So, yeah, I would stay away from it, really. Just in common sense, just be careful and try to get permission if you can. It's Nads. I've no idea. I'm sorry. Has the paranormal activity ever happened in public or just in the house? I get asked this a lot, and it all kind of boils down to the fact that I've said it's me that's haunted. So from that, people assume that if I leave the house and I go to work, for example, that things are going to be happening, but it doesn't really work like that. It's like, for example, when I moved from the old house to this one, it wasn't instantaneous. You know what I mean? I had a couple of weeks of pure silence. It's like if I go on holiday, I don't really get any activity happening around me. It's not like the spirits are always around. Even here, like, it's not every night that activity is happening. Like, I genuinely have to go out and try and seek it. If not, it's maybe once a week at a push, if I even hear that. So, no, it doesn't really happen when I'm out and about. I mean, there has been instances where I've thought that could have been a paranormal occurrence, but I usually just write it off because I'm not at home and I'm not expecting it. If I'm in a haunted place or somewhere that's known to be haunted, I'd attribute it to that, not necessarily to my own paranormal experience, if you know what I mean. So, no, not really, but it's more than possible that I've just written it off if it has. Doot asks, I've been wondering, do you get scared around Anna and Daniel nowadays? No, I don't really get scared around them specifically. If I'm in the sure mind that I'm speaking to Daniel or Anna, then I'm fairly comfortable with that. I mean, there's always a level of the unknown. I mean, I can't say for sure that it's Daniel or Anna, and so there's a level of wariness there. But if I'm in the mind that I'm speaking to Anna, that's fine for me. It's only when other entities around that I don't recognise that I start to get nervous. So, for example, the meditative conjuring session that I did, in which I was trying to bring Anna forward through meditation to try and communicate, things seemed to be going well, and then another presence entered the session, and it just made me uncomfortable. And so it was at that point that I got scared, and it wasn't because of Anna, it was because of this other entity that was present with Anna. And so, you know what I mean, it kind of works like that. So even with Daniel, since I found out that he was a second spirit that was there to protect me, it didn't matter what that other entity was doing. I felt comfortable if I felt like I was speaking to Daniel. It was only if I could feel this other presence around that it made me scared. So, yeah, no, not really being scared of them at any point. It's the unknown that worries me more. Celestia asks, you say you're haunted. Couldn't it be that you are very highly sensitive to the spirits around you? I certainly don't write off the possibility that I could be a sensitive, because I do feel things, but I usually attribute them to the other five senses. You know what I mean? I've seen things, I've heard things, smell, you know, I've felt like the prickliness on your skin. And when I say I feel a spirit nearby, it's that kind of feeling that I mean. Like, it's kind of like electricity, staticky kind of feeling, temperature change, you know what I mean? And the only thing really that puts me off the idea of me being a sensitive, like, is the fact that I have been to haunted locations, like on tours and things like that, and I don't think that I can remember there has been an instance where I've felt, or, you know what I mean, I've sensed something that nobody else in the room could have sensed, you know what I mean? It's always been like, oh, we've all seen a moving shadow, we've all heard something, or we've all felt the temperature change. It's never just been me and then everyone's just looked at me dumbfounded. So there's really only that puts me off, but I definitely don't write it off as a possibility, and it's definitely something I'm going to play around with in terms of testing. But like I say, I try to keep these videos as logical and scientific as possible, so I'm definitely going to keep that to a minimum, but there will be tests. Meg asks, do you ever think if you asked the spirits to cease contact with you, do you think the hauntings would stop? For instance, you get tired of investigating and you want to live a relatively normal life again, so you ask them to leave you be. Do you think it would just stop, or they would keep doing things around you? I do believe that a perfect starting point for anyone who doesn't want to be haunted is to just sit down and say, look, you're scaring me. I don't want you to be here. I don't want you to be messing around with my things, and just ask them nicely to stop. It's the least risky form of trying to cease a haunting, and I think if a spirit's intelligent and they can understand what it is you're asking, like for example, if I asked Anna and Daniel to stop what they're doing, I believe they would do that. But in my case, the problem I have with that is that I could get Anna and Daniel to stop by asking them, no doubt, but it's not just them that visit, it's the other spirits that come in and out that is the problem, really. I could obviously go in turn, everyone that shows up, tell them I don't want it anymore, hope that eventually the gist will be gotten and people would stop visiting. But I think the best thing I could probably do if I wanted it to stop and live a normal life would be to stop investigating and stop trying to communicate with them, because I think that's the beacon that brings them in. And I don't necessarily think it's me. I think it's the fact that if you're a spirit and you've got things to say and there's a guy over there trying to communicate, who you gonna go towards? You're gonna go to the guy that's trying to communicate. The guy, you've got a better chance of sending your message to that guy than somebody who's not. So I think if I wanted it to stop personally, yes, I would probably start by asking them to stop, but I would also have to just stop communicating and stop interacting with them if I wanted that idea to stick. Joe asks, if the paranormal activity stopped, would you stop doing YouTube since it's all based around the paranormal? No, I don't think I'd stop. Even if the paranormal activity stopped here, I've been looking to do external investigation videos and bring them to the channel just sort of for a bit of variety. So if it stopped, I'd probably just put more focus on that and do more and more external investigation videos and bring them to the channel instead, because I enjoy making videos. I studied it at uni and the paranormal is still an interest. Just because I'm not personally haunted wouldn't stop me being interested in the paranormal and investigating. So I would just seek it elsewhere, really. So hopefully this channel's here to stay. I have no intentions of stopping, regardless of whether it is in my house or elsewhere. Action Replay Person asks, the thing that gets me is that the number of people who have died over the course of history in the same geographical spot as your past and current houses surely must be a lot. Do you think most places are actually just overcrowded with spirits and maybe cancel each other out? I agree that there has been probably millions of people died in this geographical location, but I don't think that every single one of them becomes an earthbound spirit. I think the majority of spirits, and I mean the majority, like 99.9% of spirits, will move on. I think the possibility of a spirit getting trapped here is so rare. I don't think it comes around that often, to be honest. I don't think it's as simple as everybody that dies is all stood in one place, because the energy would be unreal. I think if that was possible, then EMF detectors would have been a write-off anyway, because they would constantly be going off if there were spirits around. No, I think the majority of them just, they become spirits and move on within a very short period of time, and then it's only that very small percentage that actually gets stuck and become earthbound. So for me, that's the reason not everybody gets paranormal activity. Jake Walker asks, Hi Michael, I'm looking at getting a spirit box. Can you give me any advice on how to use it? Thanks. First thing I'll say is the same thing I tell everybody when they tell me they want to get some kind of communication device, is just be 100% sure that that's something you want to pursue before you start doing it, because there's a phrase that some doors open aren't so easily closed, and that applies so well to the paranormal, because sometimes just opening that up and putting yourself out there to communicate, it can bring spirits to you, because they've seen that you're open to it, and so they can follow you. And I'm not saying every time you go out and do an investigation you're going to get an attachment and it's going to follow you home, because there are hundreds of investigators out there that have done it for years and have never had an attachment and probably never will. And so I'm not saying it's a guaranteed thing, I'm just saying it is a risk, so you need to be prepared for that possibility. Providing you've already settled on it, you know you're going to go ahead, then just be polite. Don't be rude, don't be aggressive. If you're going to do a spirit box session, open it up politely, ask any spirits if they wouldn't mind helping you, if they want to come forward and speak, that you can help them. And when it comes to it, just make sure to close it off properly. Let the spirits know that this is the end of the session. You don't want them following you or anything like that. And that, you know what I mean, if you're going to come back, just let them know that you will be back. If anything, that's just going to tell them not to follow you, because you'll be back to communicate anyway. So yeah, just be careful with it. If you have any particular belief system, look at cleansing rituals and things to protect yourself, any kind of artifacts you can have on you that speaks to you. I would definitely do that, because I believe that with protection, it is very much based on belief. I think if you have a religion, like if you're a Catholic, having a cross on your person, that will spiritually, that's a protection, because it's something you strongly believe in. And I think it's all about that will and intent. And so if you're not particularly religious like myself, I have little crystals that I take around with me. I have in my pockets at most times, and you know, sage, things like that. Just look into whatever you feel is the best way to protect yourself, but just make sure you are protected, and just be careful and have fun with it. Magical asks, I'd like to ask, if I'm going to try and talk to ghosts, are they going to be near me all the time after trying to contact them? I kind of already answered this in the last one, but I will reiterate that there are hundreds of investigators that go out every day and communicate and never have an attachment, and probably never will. It's not a guaranteed thing that just because you've done an EVP session or a spirit box session that you are going to now be a beacon, that every spirit is going to know that you want to communicate and they're going to follow you. It doesn't quite work like that. It's not everybody gets an attachment. It depends on the individual spirit. So do some research, find out if there has been attachments from a particular area. There will have been investigators there that have had experiences, so ask them, find out. But just be prepared for the possibility that it could happen. Not that it will, but you know what I mean, you've got to be prepared for it anyway. Zach Smith asks, have you ever been paranoid of watching/listening to horror movies/stories? Like, do you think it could aggravate them? No, I don't really worry about it. I listen to ghost story podcasts all the time. I watch horror films. Horror films are my favourite. I prefer them, especially the paranormal ones, because I can relate, and it speaks to me, and they scare me the most. But I don't think they have any relation to actual hauntings. Now, I've heard stories of people that listen to the same podcast I do, and they often write into it and say, you know what I mean, I've been listening to your podcast for several weeks, and now I'm starting to notice things around my house. I think my house is haunted, and I think that's because of listening to the podcast. And it's not. If the house is actually haunted, it was probably haunted before it. The only difference is, because you've been listening to it so much, you're now aware of the little things that point to it being haunted. So you're more focused on it, and so you notice things that you didn't notice before. And the same thing happens in a kind of false positive way, where you've been listening to a ghost story so much that you're starting to notice little things, but them little things could be perfectly natural, but now because you've listened to it so much and your mind's in that state, you're starting to attribute everything to the paranormal, even if there's no paranormal there. So no, I really wouldn't worry about it. And with regards to films, I think most of the time when you hear stories about films, I just attribute them to viral marketing. If they say the set of Paranormal Activity 7 burnt down 4 times in the course of filming, the film's cursed, everyone is going to go watch it because that's the target market. They're the people that are interested in the fact that this film was cursed while making it. So it's scary. They were like, yes, got to go watch that. And yeah, for me, that's viral marketing. I think that's just how that works. But I definitely wouldn't worry if you're listening to podcasts or, horror films and stuff. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Jake asks, when the neighbours previously complained about the noises and banging, did you tell them that it was a ghost? And if so, what's their reaction? I believe the incident you're on about was a couple of years ago. I think it was Halloween. We'd gone out for a party and a few things were sort of thrown around in the kitchen, which the neighbours obviously heard, and they came around and said, look, it was a bit late. It was unnecessary for you making that much noise. And I didn't tell them that I was haunted. I mean, how can you explain that you weren't in and actually it's your resident poltergeist throwing things around? Like, that have you committed? Like, you can't just explain that. So no, I think I just came up with some kind of excuse. I think with it being Halloween, I was just like, oh yeah, we're decorating and we just dropped a few things and I'm sorry for the noise. You know what I mean? Just politely apologised and promised not to do it again. But you can't really tell them that it's the ghost that did it because, like I say, it wouldn't go down too well. And so that's it for this week's Q&A, guys. I hope I answered your questions sufficiently and in enough detail. Like I say, if I didn't get to your question in this one, don't worry. I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I will answer it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.